The impact of India's Operation Sindoor war victory has now been acknowledged in Turkey. This comes as a massive embarrassment for Islamabad after the India-Pakistan war. According to this report, the representatives of the Turkish defense manufacturer Asisguard have acknowledged the operational failure of their Turkish drones against India. What's more shocking is that they have not blamed the drone, but allegedly the poor use and military tech and strategy by an untrained Pakistani military during the May 2025 war against India. This is why the Indian air defense systems were able to knock down and shoot down every Turkish drone out of the sky during the conflict. A company representative first explained the qualities of the drone, saying, "The Songar is a tactical force multiplier engineered to operate within a 3 to 5 kilometer radius, providing immediate fire support for squads using stabilized 5.56 m machine gun." They then explained how Munir and company simply failed in basic planning, adding, "It, or the Songar drone, was never intended to penetrate the layered integrated air defense network of a peer adversary like India. Attempting to use a short-range quadcopter for deep cross-border strikes against S-400 and Akash missile systems is a fundamental doctrinal error." This is an explosive revelation by Pakistan's so-called brother Turkey. Multiple media reports are highlighting how sources from the Ankara-based firm added that the drones were not meant to be deployed in high-risk strategic roles, which ultimately led to their neutralization by India's robust electromagnetic warfare and air defense grid. Now, on the condition of anonymity, the representatives from the defense firm claimed that the drones were strictly designed for close-range infantry support roles and for counter-insurgency operations. As per Indian military officials, Pakistan had launched drone and missile attacks on at least 36 Indian military sites across Jammu, Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat during the night of May 7th and 8th, 2025. A senior military official was quoted in Bharat Shakti stating, "This was not just an airspace intrusion, it was a calculated move to stress test our defenses, force resource expenditure and then gather data," unquote. An Inconnect news story on India-Pakistan tensions has been ranked among the top 5 or the 5 best news reports on Google News videos. I am Shobhat Mittal. Do subscribe to Inconnect News for the most informative news content. A defense source explained that Pakistan military likely wanted Indian military to activate and expose India's air defense architecture, including radar positions, engagement zones, and response tactics, to gather critical data for future escalations, just like the Indian military had successfully done to neutralize several Pakistani radar sites in multiple Pakistani cities on the second day of the conflict. Despite the unprecedented scale of the Pakistani drone swarm, the incursion failed tactically to achieve any objective. A vast majority of these Turkish-origin drones were intercepted in the air or jammed by Indian air defense grid before they could inflict any sort of damage, as per official government sources. Now, each Turkish Songar drone can fly only about 10 kilometers from its base and can stay in the air for only 30 minutes. Despite boosting advanced features like the IP67 rated dust-resistant body, GPS navigation and specialized Oasis recoil dampening system, such drones lack stealth, they lack speed and the standoff range of larger drones, which led to their detection and thus neutralization by Indian radar and air defense systems. With just a 3 to 5 kilometer attack radius and just 2,800 meter altitude limit, these drones are supported by GPS-based control and real-time video. The drone still fell short of not being optimal for contested airspace dominated by high-powered jamming by India. Post-engagement analysis or the post-war analysis of the wreckage recovered by Indian security forces confirmed that a significant percentage of the downed UAVs or drones were in fact Turkish-origin Asisguard Songar units. While Pakistan continued to claim victory over the conflict with India, on the ground, Indian military destroyed a significant amount of Pakistani military hardware and inflicted inflicted heavy casualties. Independent assessments suggest a loss rate exceeding 80% for Pakistani side. This was the first real defeat of Turkish drones in modern warfare. A few years ago, similar Turkish armed drones were instrumental in Azerbaijan winning the Nagorno-Karabakh war against Armenia. Low-cost Azeri drones not just neutralized thousands of Armenian soldiers in and around Nagorno-Karabakh, they were also exceptional in pinpointing and destroying dozens of Armenian tanks and fixed artillery positions, giving a huge tactical advantage to Azerbaijani troops and forcing an Armenian retreat. On the other hand, Indian air defense rendered similar Turkish drones completely ineffective as it used a combination of hard kill, kinetic interceptors, and soft-kill electronic warfare systems. Reports suggest these were most likely the Him-Shakti electronic warfare platforms to sever or disrupt the drone's command links, forcing such drones to crash or simply go off course. Now, during India's strikes on Pakistan's UN-designated global terror infrastructure, Turkey continued to double down its diplomatic and military support to Islamabad. Even in the past, Turkey has boosted military partnership with Pakistan, which includes F-16 jets, at least 30 Turkish T-129 attack helicopters, to Turkish Bayraktar TB2 armed drones and Kemankez cruise missiles. The military and defense collaboration between Turkey and Pakistan has seen significant acceleration over just the past few decades. Over the last few years, Turkey has often meddled in the internal affairs of India, much to the annoyance of New Delhi, especially since Erdogan was peddling fake Pakistani propaganda on Kashmir and attempts to distort history. In September this year, Indian Foreign Ministry under S. Jaishankar had hit out at Turkish President Erdogan for bringing up the Kashmir issue at the United Nations. This at a time and despite the fact that Turkey, not even Pakistan, have no say in India's internal issues, which is Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is historically and legally Indian land. Srinagar, the capital of Kashmir, was established by Indian Emperor Ashoka the Great in 250 BC. That's nearly 1,000 years before the name Turks even emerged in history as a nomad people of Central Asia, while the concept of Pakistan did not even exist. Much later, even during India's partition by the British, the ruler of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja Hari Singh, legally acceded the entire region to India and not to Pakistan. So what Pakistan occupies today is simply illegally held territory, which must be returned to India. Erdogan or Pakistan's attempts to distort history will just never succeed. In another significant development, Turkey is now reportedly close to dumping the Russian S-400 air defense system in hopes that the United States would finally allow Turkey to acquire the F-35 stealth fighter jets. This after America had kicked Turkey out of the F-35 stealth program in 2019. Tom Barak, US ambassador to Turkey, had recently revealed, quote, Turkey has resolved the operability issues with the S-400 missile system as they are not in use. Turkey is moving closer to getting rid of the Russian system altogether. Unquote. After Turkey had procured 4 batteries of the Russian S-400 air defense system, it got sanctioned by former Trump administration under the CATSA and then expelled from the F-35 program altogether after accepting the first delivery of the S-400 from Russia. Washington has made it clear that simply returning these batteries of the S-400 to Russia will not be a viable solution, so the systems could be transferred or sold to a neutral third party or country. So could India be a recipient of Turkey's S-400 units? Now, India is already operating 3 regiments of the S-400s, understood to be the same high military grade specification and configuration used by the Russian armed forces themselves. Now, in sharp contrast, the units delivered to Turkey were reportedly an export variant of the S-400 with downgraded capabilities, a precaution taken by Russia to prevent NATO assets from gathering crucial data on its top-tier signatures. So, India would not be interested in acquiring second second-hand and inferior equipment when it is already planning to upgrade its own missile defense architecture with the possible integration of the Russian S-500 system as well as 5 additional S-400 squadrons. A defense source was quoted in The Print saying, "The S-400 performed very well in Sindoor and has a huge deterrence and punitive capability. Yes, we are looking at procuring more of the same or the S-500. The S-500 is popularly touted as the 5th generation killer, is also capable of targeting 5th generation aircraft, low orbit enemy communication or surveillance satellites, as well as hypersonic missiles flying over Mach 5. It can also shoot down unmanned aerial vehicles or armed drones, as well as intermediate range ballistic missiles." Now, Russia claims the S-500 is capable of intercepting all types of modern hypersonic weapons. If deployed at the line of actual control, the air defense system can be beneficial for the Indian military to step up deterrence against the Chinese J-20 threat along the disputed Tibet border areas. But as Operation Sindoor has shown, the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army are already capable of beating Chinese military hardware like the PL-15 missiles and the HQ-9 air defense systems, as satellite images confirmed multiple Indian missile strikes on well-defended Pakistani air bases and aircraft hangars. Now, Turkey's admission of Pakistani misuse of its drones only comes as more embarrassment for the failed marshal of the terror state. So what do you believe? Will Pakistan ever end its terror policy, or will the Modi government of India have to launch Operation Sindoor 2.0? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.